Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Urdu Seekhiye. This is part 2 of the introduction to the Urdu alphabet. So let's continue right where we left off. The last letter covered in part 1 was badi hai. After badi hai comes khe. Khe. It's got a bit of a throatal, a guttural sound. Again, to learn how to move your lips and tongue to pronounce any of these letters, please watch the first video in this series, the link to which can be found in the description. So our first word, beginning with the letter khe, is among my favorite. It's khush. Khush. Khush means happy. Next, we've got khat. Khat. Khat means letter, like I've mailed the letter. And lastly, we have khidmat. Khidmat. Khidmat means service. Another nice word. Even though the letter itself is a throatal sound, the words that often begin with it aren't. So you'll most likely hear them as kush, cut, and khidmat. Kush, cut, and khidmat. In a way, I like that it's not pronounced with the kh, but then that does make it harder to distinguish it from those words that begin with the letter kaf. So just for personal practice, I am going to use the kh. That way it'll help me better remember that it starts with the letter khe. You'll most likely hear it as kush, kat, and khidmat. All right, moving on to a whole new shape. This is dal. Dal. While this letter is called dal, there's also a food item called dal, and it means lentils. Our next word is dil. Dil. Dil means heart. And our final word is dost. Dost. And it's another feel-good word. It means friend. Now we've got dal. Dal. So our first word, starting with dal, is dar. Dar. Dar means fear. Next we've got doctor. And I laugh a little bit because I can't remember the last time someone pronounced doctor as doctor. And finally, we've got dhol. Dhol. Some of you out there may know it, maybe from a popular Indian song. Sound familiar? So, dhol means drum. So I don't know if you can hear the difference between dal and dal, or dost and dhol. But again, the second one is heavier. Next is zal. Zal. With zal, we've got zara. Zara. Zara means little bit. Another word is zikr. Zikr, which means mention. And finally, we have zalil. Zalil, which means humiliate. If you're thinking, man, these are not words for beginners, then you're right. In a bit, we're going to have another letter that also makes the Z sound. But it's good to keep in mind that most words that begin with zal have an Arabic or Persian origin. So when you hear a word that begins with the Z sound, either look it up or bet on it not beginning with zal. For example, the Urdu dictionary that I have only has 2 pages of words that begin with zal, whereas it has 8 pages of words that begin with ze, a letter we'll cover in just a bit. We also have zoy and zoad, which make the Z sound. And I'll share more helpful tips when I get to those letters. Moving right along, next we've got re. Re. The word rat begins with re. Rat. Rat means night. Our second word is roz. Roz. Roz means day. And if you add the word har in front of roz, it becomes harroz. And harroz means every day. And my absolute favorite to eat, roti. Roti. Roti means bread. Next, we've got re. Re. However, there is no word in the Urdu language that begins with re. Or I couldn't find one. If you're not able to pronounce re, I'd recommend you hop over to the first video and practice a bit. You'll only find this letter either in the middle and maybe at the end of a word, although I wasn't successful in finding words that end with re. So in my examples, re appears in the middle. Our first word is thoda. Thoda. Can you hear where it is? It's the ra. Thoda. Thoda means a little bit. Next, we've got sari. Sari. So that ri, right? Sa, ri, re. Sari. And you may have heard this word before because it's an incredibly popular type of outfit among South Asians. Finally, we have padhna. Padhna. So the r in padhna, that's where the re is. And padhna means to read or to study. And now to the other Z sounding letter, ze. With ze begins the word zaban. Zaban. And it means tongue or language. Next, we've got zindagi. Zindagi. Zindagi means life. And finally, we've got zabardast. 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 Zabardast means fantastic or great. When I was teaching Urdu in a classroom, I definitely overused the word zabardast because I couldn't think of too many other words that meant terrific. It makes me realize how many synonyms we have for various words in the English language. Or it could just be that I don't know enough Urdu to think of synonyms for zabardast. Anywho, next we've got je. Je. So the words that I found that begin with je are far too complicated and may never be used. I know I've never used them. And I could only think of one word that I've used that contains je in the middle, and that's television. Television. And you can guess that it means television. The book that I have doesn't even cover it at all. I think it might be safe to skip this letter altogether, but because it's listed among the alphabet, I thought I'd cover it a little. So that's all you need to know about the letter je. Next up, we have seen. Seen. Our first word is sub. Sub, which means all. Second word, among my favorite, is seekhna. Seekhna. It means to learn. And of course, this series is called Urdu Seekhiye, which means learn Urdu. So we see a variation of the verb seekhna in our title. And our final word for seen is suraj. Suraj. And suraj means sun. Next letter is my favorite letter, as you may already know. It's sheen. Sheen. Our first word, sheher. Sheher. Sheher means city. Second word, shikari. Shikari. And shikari means hunter. And our final word is shukriya. Shukriya. And you might know what it means. It means thank you. We've got swad next. This letter too has the s sound, competing with seen. So swad only appears in words of Arabic origin, making it less likely to be used. This tip is good to keep in mind because when you encounter words that begin with the s sound, knowing that the chances of them beginning with swad is low will help you. With swad begins the word sahib. And there are variations of this word. I've heard sahab, sahab, and it just means sir or mister. You might see it added to a man's first name. So my brother's name is Adnan. If someone wanted to address him with respect, they might call him Adnan Sahib or Adnan Sahab or Adnan Saab. For the woman, it's Sahiba. And a variation you might hear is Saiba. If you wanted to address me with respect, you'd say Shireen Sahiba or Shireen Saiba. So the words are Sahib, Sahab, Saab, Sahiba, and Saiba. In my experience, though, I don't hear anyone using these titles. I only see it in movies. So I want to say that it's an outdated practice, or maybe it's unique to the elite class. I think it's safe to say that if you're being polite, there isn't a need for titles. Our next word is sirf. Sirf. And it means only. And finally, we have subha. Subha. Subha means morning. Our last letter in this part is zuad. Zuad. Like swad, zuad also is used to begin words that have the Arabic origin. So that goes to show you that it won't be used as often. Our first word, beginning with zuad, is ziddi. Ziddi. Ziddi means stubborn. Next word, zarurat. 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 Zarurat means necessity. Zarurat. And final word is zamanat. Zamanat. Zamanat means bail. So if you're thinking that these words are way too difficult to be introduced at the beginning level, it's because these letters are barely used, that when they are used, they're used with such difficult words. So just rest assured that this letter and these words won't be as often used. So if you want to disregard them for now, that won't be a bad idea. All right, so that does it for part 2 of the introduction to the Urdu alphabet. I'll see you in part 3 next week. Until then, remember to take our challenge to see if you can remember the meaning of some of the words that were introduced today. Be sure to let us know how you're doing on our Facebook page, linked below. Shukriya and Khudafis.